All right, so we're going to dive into magnetism today. And first, we'll do that grounding meditation. I'm going to share a little bit more about who I am, my story, how I became an astrologer, and specifically a career astrologer. We're going to go over your free report, and then we're going to talk about magnetism, and we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. So let's get started with that grounding meditation. I want you to close your eyes and start to root down through your sit bones and your feet. Roll your shoulders down and back. Start to soften the face, relaxing the brow, feeling the tongue release from the roof of the mouth, and the lower jaw moving away from the upper jaw. Really allow yourself to arrive into the present moment. And we'll start with 3 cleansing breaths. As you empty the breath out, take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. Take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. Another deep breath in through the nose. Hold it at the top. Can you breathe in a little bit more air? Let it go out through the mouth. Seal the lips. Start to breathe in and out through the nose. Feel the breath move through the back of the throat, down the length of the spine, and into the belly. And just focusing on your inhales and your exhales here. And I invite you to set an intention for today's session. Allow your intention to organically come into your consciousness. Be curious about what comes up. My invitation for you is to be open, curious, and most importantly, to have fun, knowing that the insights that I share with you today, the insights that will come through for you, are exactly what you need to hear in this moment in time. Really allow yourself to receive. As you're ready, gently open your eyes, coming back to the present moment and the present space. All right, I know we had a couple friends come in during the meditation. Make sure to drop in where you are joining from, anything else you want to share with us. And I'm going to get started with my story. I always like to explain how I got into astrology so you can understand the different way that I share astrology as a tool for introspection and really a way for you to get ahead in your career and your business. So, I haven't always been an astrologer. I actually had a career in like consumer marketing, digital marketing throughout my 20s. And I was working a corporate job, and it just didn't feel right after a while. Kind of started in my late 20s, early 30s during what is known as a Saturn return. So if anybody is around like 29, 30, you're going through it right now. It's an existential time, but really it's for the best as you kind of recalibrate and redirect what you really want to be doing in this lifetime and how it pertains to kind of like how you make your money, how you are of service. And I realized at that time that I was seeking something more. So I went on this existential journey for more than I really feel during like the length of a Saturn return, which is 3 years. And I did a lot of belief system upgrades. So I had to define what success means for me and really start to care less about what other people think. And I remember when I was like exploring like yoga, meditation, and astrology, like back in like 2000, I wanna say like it was like 2016, like 17 and 18, it was just like so new, and when I got the idea to start this business, like 5, 6 years ago, it was just so jarring. I was like, "Oh," at that time, it was like an events business for like spirituality and holistic wellness, and for me to like hear that, I was like, this is kind of weird. This is very different what I did before, working for clients like Marriott and P&G and like Hilton, and I was like, this is gonna be weird. What are people gonna say? And also, are people gonna be interested? I was in DC at the time. I'm based in LA now, but actually back in the DC area right now. That's why this session is like a little bit earlier than usual. And I was just like, I don't know if people are going to like this. It's going to be so weird. But in fact, it gathered such an incredible community of like minded individuals, all seeking community, connection, and a more purpose driven life, and exploring what that means through the different events that I'd hosted. And it has slowly evolved into, um, you know, something that is much more astrology focused. So, primarily these days, I'm focused on showcasing astrology. And a couple years ago, I made yoursaturn.com, which is where you're able to get a free career astrology report. That was another leap of faith, really listening to my intuition. And it really does pay off every time you listen to your intuition. It may not make sense in the moment, but it definitely makes sense later. And it was something that I'd never done before, building like a technology product, and really understanding like what are what is going to be the most helpful way in bringing together when someone's going through a career change or need clear career clarity, and using astrology as the tool to help them. And one of the reasons why I have a practical, very accessible approach to astrology is because I had a corporate job for many years. And I focus on career specifically because um, it's just something that I've always really focused on. I'm always talking about like business. I'm always helping friends get jobs. Like that has never been like different. I've always been this way in like my entire professional career. And when I discovered my placements, and we'll go through kind of like the astrology basics, I have a lot of placements. A lot of planets, quote unquote, in the sign of Capricorn, which is closely related to career and business. That's a little bit about me. And let's talk about your free report. Now, if you have the expanded report, it's like in the first few pages. So you still have this like couple paragraphs. So for those who really resonated with the free report, this is a breakdown on what I focus on and how I explain it. It's kind of like a Mad Lib situation. I picked the things that I thought were going to be the most impactful. And that last paragraph is really going to be around like ideal jobs and careers. And really, you can think of it as like a couple paragraphs that really just describe like who you are. But I like to share this before each of like my free workshops so you can understand like, oh, this resonated with me, this doesn't resonate with me. Sometimes you kind of just need to kind of like Google it to kind of like understand. And you, if you scroll down to like the second or third page, it has like chart properties. You can kind of see like, oh, Mercury in like Sagittarius, Chiron in Cancer. So you kind of like match some of these things up. Let me see if there are any questions. No questions right now. Okay, so really quickly, as you kind of review your free report or re-review your expanded report, I just want to pause and take some time to kind of think about how does the report make you feel? What resonated? What kind of piqued your curiosity? What was like a little bit kind of like, made you pause and wonder, like, I've never really thought about that before. I know there are certain things that I found out as I was exploring astrology early on that I was just like, whoa, I don't think I'm ever going to do this, or I don't relate to this at all, or like, am I really good at this? And yes, after you kind of like simmer and like sit with it and like think about it, and even ask like people around you, like your friends, your family, like, oh yeah, like you've always been really good at this, or you've always been really interested in this. It's a really wonderful time to kind of like reflect. So I'll give you a couple minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. Oh yeah, I can go back to the side. There you go. You can take like a photo as well. Wrap up whatever you're writing, finish your sentence. If you want to share, feel free to pop into the chat. You guys can have some ongoing conversations there as I share more information. All right, so let's talk about the astrology basics. For those who are new to astrology, I like to talk about the astrology basics as like a foundation before I kind of go on to the next thing. Because I even for like my free workshops, I never really talk about stuff that's like very like basic, which is like the sun, the moon, the rising. I always talk about like a planet. I talk about like a point, and usually I talk about the north and the south node. But today we're focusing on something else that I think is going to be very helpful as we are in this season that kind of picks up on kind of magnetism and attraction. But first, let us talk about the sun, the moon, the rising. These really are the basis of like who you are, and your sun is your identity. The moon is the inner world, your emotions, like what your inner child needs. It's the part of you that not a lot of people, like not as many people see. Then the rising is like how you view the world, how people see you, first impressions, like your version of reality. And something that I'm incorporating more, but and I'll start to do it a lot more, is something else that I believe that shares a lot about who you are. It's the south node. It's not on the chart properties, but it's like the opposite sign of your north node. I believe that's really like the core of who you are. It's like past lives that you're really familiar with. It's like really kind of deep down who you are. And then I believe it's like the moon and then the sun and then the rising. But just to make it easier, we're going to talk about the sun, the moon, the rising, because this is what people are usually going to talk about when they're just like, oh, what's your sign? They're talking about the sun sign. And like, what's your big three? They're talking about the sun, the moon, and the rising. So I'll use myself as an example. So your sun sign is your identity, it's like who you are. And for me, it's Leo. It's one that is like can be performative at times. It's a sign of like the actor and entertainment. It's very empowering. It likes to be in the spotlight. And I've come to realize and recognize that before I had my business, like I was in like sales roles. I loved like pitching to clients when I was working at a PR agency, and now like I love like presenting, whether it's like digitally like this type of workshop or doing something in person. Like that just really lights me up. I love a stage. And that holds true for all of our Leo friends. Then I have a Capricorn moon. So if you have an earth sign, so that's Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, um, it's a placement that it's hard for you to process your emotions because the moon is very watery, it's very feeling based, it's got a lot of emotions, and when it's in an earth sign, kind of tampers those things down. So for myself, as a Capricorn moon, I always like to explain my emotions, especially in the sign of Capricorn. That's very like focused on like working and like overworking and around like career and like business. Like I always think that I'm just like, okay, if I focus on like my career, if I focus on doing something rather than feeling my emotions, then I'll feel better. But I've come to really like have a better relationship with my emotions over the years, and really looking at my moon sign has been quite helpful. Another point I want to make is With a Capricorn moon, you are also going to be someone who cares a lot about career. And if your like job isn't in a good place, it kind of can throw you like into a loop. So what I've realized, what I've learned is to redefine success for myself and really remind myself how far I've come. So I'm not too hard on myself. And it's particularly hard when you have your own business. You're like, oh, I need to do more. There's so much to do. Like it never ends. And so there's a lot more pressure. And so I've just realized, like kind of like one foot in front of the other. And then finally, the rising sign. So I also have a Capricorn rising. So when people first meet me, they see someone who's like a little bit more serious and they're kind of surprised that I am an astrologer. I also see the world through the lens of just like career and business. That's why I'm a career astrologer. It's something that is just a big part of who I am, something that I always think about. So again, when people meet me as a Capricorn rising, it's kind of like first impressions, like, oh, she's kind of like serious, like a little bit more reserved. And then as I kind of like know, kind of like my my sun sign, which is like Leo, they're like, oh, she's actually a little like not as serious, like a little bit more playful at times. And then kind of like, like my moon sign is like, oh, she can be serious with her emotions or kind of like not want to process her emotions. So that's a little bit about me so you can understand your sun, your moon, and your rising. Okay, so now we're going to move on to using astrology to identify your magnetism. Now, I know that some of you are just like, oh, like you want to learn more about your sun, your moon, your rising. We'll cover that in the next slide as well. We're going to be focused on the planet Venus. Venus gives you insights into your natural gifts, people that you are drawn to, and your magnetism, things that you are naturally good at. So I want you to go to your free report or your expanded report. You can also use your favorite astrology app and look to see what sign Venus is in. It could be Venus in Aries, Venus in Aquarius. So take note of that sign and also take note of the signs for your sun, your moon, and your rising. Okay, so once you have that information, it might be really handy for you to kind of jot it down in a notes app or on a piece of paper just so you have it. And we're going to talk about each of the signs. So you can look at your sun, your moon, and your rising and your Venus placement and see kind of like if you have like your sun in Aries, these are some of your qualities that you have. If your moon is in Leo, this is how you make people feel. This is kind of like how you deal with emotions as well. So kind of just like kind of writing down like the sign and some of these like words and characteristics that are associated with it. So when we talk about your Venus placement, let's say your Venus is in Libra, that means things that you're naturally good at, being a connector, very stylish, very diplomatic, very relationship driven. If your Venus is in Sagittarius, you are super adventurous, very philosophical, like to learn a lot of information. So you are drawn to people who exude these characteristics, who are this way, but you are also this yourself. And you can think of these things as like natural skills, natural talents that you have as well. And I will use myself as an example. So my Venus is in Gemini. Um, it's always really funny because Gemini and Sagittarius, they're very communicative signs. And they're very naturally good at communication. And so just like naturally throughout my life, I've always been drawn to like journalism, media, public relations, like things that are very communications oriented, like media. So as a child, I read a lot of books. In college, I applied as a journalism major, and I worked for many years in public relations and in marketing, and I still do those things, but just like in a very different way through like my business that is focused on astrology right now. But kind of like talking to people about their birth charts, like doing the readings, doing the reports, writing the reports. Those are all very Gemini related things. And I like to take in a lot of information. I like to ideate. I always have a lot of ideas. Geminis have a lot of ideas. They always need to be doing a couple different things. And of course, like you might be thinking like, oh, my Venus isn't in Gemini, but I also relate to this. It could be your sun, your moon, your rising, other placements in your birth chart that kind of like give you those elements of those qualities. To make it easier for a workshop setting, we just focus on one planet, one area, so we can like really dive in. But just so you know, in your birth chart, every single person has each of these signs present. Some are going to be more prominent than others. And also, just according to the season that we're in, it changes as well as in addition to the astrological forecast. So I want you to keep that in mind. Um, and I will explain some examples. If you want to drop into the chat, I can do like three. We have time for like three. Yes. So if you want me to share some more insights, I'll share some more insights. So just drop your Venus placement into the chat, and I can do three of them. I might do a little bit more if I have some more time. But I also just wanted to share more about the season that we're in as well. So right now we are in Scorpio season, and Scorpio season is a time where we really tap into our inner magnetism, like healing the parts of ourselves that we've been ignoring. Also, like really thinking about the ambition that we have and where we kind of want to grow in our career as well. Because Scorpio, I oftentimes feel like it is a very misunderstood sign. Um, I always feel like it's like Scorpios and Geminis that people are just like, oh, we don't like these signs. But really, I think that any type of Scorpio placement is very, very important because Scorpios are truth seekers. They're very, very detail oriented. They can seem aloof at times, but really, it's just because they're processing a lot of information, and they see a lot. So in the season of Scorpio for the next few weeks, you are going to be drawn to understanding your own truth and seeing like the truth of a situation, of a purpose, and being very detail oriented and understanding like, oh, okay, like this is what I am dealing with at work or in my personal life, and really being able to step into your magnetism as well. Scorpios, if you have a lot of Scorpio that shows up in your chart, so if you look at your chart properties, like Scorpio comes up like more than like let's say two or three times, or if you see the number eight two or three times, or any of those combinations of like Scorpio and the number eight, that means that you have this flavor, you have this theme that comes up in your life that can result in you feeling and identifying more with these Scorpio characteristics. And so that's something to keep in mind. But again, for the next few weeks, this season is one that is filled with like introspection, and also just really focusing on the truth. All right. We got lots of comments in here. Melanie, Scorpio stellium. Yes, like also Scorpios like feel a lot. So as a water sign, it's really important to take good care of yourself, and to really find time to kind of clear energy. That could be walking outside, that could be meditating, moving your body, lots of different things. Okay. All right. So we have a couple Venus in Cancer. So with the Venus in Cancer, some of your natural talents is understanding what people need because Cancer is a water sign. So it's very intuitive. It's also very caring, very nurturing. And you can find that like when you're working in cancer related industries and fields, it can really kind of increase your magnetism. So that's hospitality, that's healthcare, that's education, anything with children, anything related to the home. You're most likely very much so drawn to like beautifying your home and making your home a nice, cozy place. You also really connect with people who are very nurturing, like, want to create like a sense of like community, of family. It's a very family oriented sign, as well as one that like feels a lot. It can get like very emotional, and very nostalgic. I think that, when it's like the holidays or like the summer or whatever kind of like makes you feel nostalgic, you kind of think about the past, and kind of bring those things up like with your friends or with your family. Okay, second example, Venus in Capricorn. So, with a Venus in Capricorn, you have a very strong, like, um, business mindset. So, people come to you because you're very reliable, very stable. You make people feel very safe and grounded. So, your magnetism is really just around, like, focusing on something that you want to grow, whether it's working for yourself or working for someone else, and putting one foot in front of the other, laying one brick on top of another. So you are someone who, is also very like naturally a leader as well. So in an organization, people are always going to tap you and say like, "Hey, would you like to lead this?" Or if you feel like you have a lot of executive presence, and people like want you to be in rooms like kind of give your opinions and, very much so consult on things. Okay. And we have Venus in Aries. So natural gifts and talents. I know that this has been kind of like, maybe a bit, let's say, kind of like in flux. Kind of like you're exploring and understanding kind of like your strengths, over the past year, year and a half, because we've had the North Node in Aries. It's still in Aries. And so when the North Node is in Aries, this like affects, all of your planets, that are in the sign of Aries. And so for a Venus in Aries, that means you've been doing a lot of rethinking of like the type of people that you connect with, like your own sense of creativity. And I know that like we had a full moon in Aries last week on the 17th. So you might have felt like a little bit more like, magnetic and feeling like, oh, I'm starting to like understand my gifts, a lot more. And the sign of Aries, very much so, is direct. It's a leader, it's very visionary. And so you may have been thinking about something that you want to create. The sign of Aries and Capricorn, they are very good at starting their own business. So you may have, connected with more people that you're able to, collaborate with, maybe like a business partner, something like that, or you're finding like, you know what, I want to take on this type of leadership role in my organization, or I'm looking, like for like a new type of role. And if you have your own business, you are showing up in a different way and being like an industry leader, an expert, in like just new ways that more deeply connect with your values and your truth. Okay, let's see. Any other comments? Oh, Scorpio rising, Pluto, South Node, Saturn, lots of Scorpio placements. Okay, let me do just one more, make sure I'm going in order. Okay, a Venus in Aquarius. So, when it comes to the sign of Aquarius, if you see Aquarius showing up in your chart, if you see the number 11 showing up in your chart, like in a combination of like three or more times, um, this means that you are very unique. Aquarius, if you look down here, it's very forward thinking. It's ahead of the times. It needs to feel free. It's a free spirit. It doesn't like, it wants to do its own thing. And I know we've talked about this, as well, I believe. With the Venus in Aquarius, like you're drawn to people and things that are more quirky, different. You like to ideate, you'd like to talk about the future, how to make the future better, maybe working in technology or in a job, a role, a business that is very heavily, reliant on technology, like as like a product or as a service, or always kind of like pushing the envelope on like how to do things very differently. On the flip side, you might be doing something that really, benefits community, a couple like humanitarian issues, like the collective, like improving people's lives. So you naturally are someone who's like good with technology, very innovative, very forward thinking, and you're drawn to people, who are like this as well. And I want you to think about everybody, um, when you are embodying your Venus placement. So when you are stepping for like Jen, when you are stepping into Aries energy, that is when you will feel quite like magnetic. Like when you are tapping into like Cancer energy for um, Gen H, you feel like, wow, like things are really like flowing, like a lot of opportunities are coming to me, like these are some ways for us to kind of like step into a more magnetic frequency. And when we are in jobs that really focus on these signs, we find that it just things happen like more naturally for us as well. All right. So I want you to take a moment to reflect on your Venus placement. Like, do you relate to it? Does it showcase like how you're able to feel confident as well? So when you lean into that Venus placement, that really boosts your confidence. And when you have your confidence boost, that you're just naturally going to be very magnetic. And do you use some of these skills for work? And is this what you sell or like how you sell for my business owners out there, as well as those in sales function? So I want you to take a couple minutes to maybe choose like one of these to answer. I'm gonna put on some music as well. For those who really loved their free report, after this session, I will send out the replay as well as a discount for you to get your expanded report, which has 15 plus pages of information to help you navigate career changes, get more clarity in your career and your business. It's super helpful. And there's a little bit of information there about your Venus placement, but also a lot more about your North Node, your South Node, your Sun sign, your Moon sign, like tons of information. And it's something that you can refer back to time and time again to really remind yourself of who you are, which I feel like is very helpful in boosting your confidence and being like, you know what, this is who I am, this is how I'm feeling. I think we'll go back here. I think somebody wanted this slide. Melanie says, it's hard having Scorpio in this placement. I seek and hopefully speak truth, but I get into trouble because my bosses hate this about me, though it endears me to my peers. Oh my gosh. I know every time I do a reading, I feel for all of my Scorpio friends, especially those with like Scorpio stelliums or, a Mercury Scorpio, like really any Scorpio placement, just because a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. But I think it's very important that we hear the truth. And I think, Melanie, one of the biggest takeaways of having like Venus in Scorpio or anybody with like a sun, the moon, or rising in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, those are important as well, is to understand that with the right people, they will really, really appreciate what you have to say. And I think that when you are working like in a traditional like 9 to 5, like on a team, and you're not, let's say, like, the team lead, you're not the director, the supervisor or whatnot, it can be very hard, because like people don't like to be told like they haven't done a good job or they've missed something. But I find that when you are a consultant, when you are brought in to improve something, even if it's with the same team, um, it is a much better working dynamic because you're coming in to solve problems. You're coming in to just like improve things. Like they are specifically having you come in to share the truth. So kind of think about that and also kind of like understand like when it's important to share the truth and when you kind of just need to hold back, which I know is super hard for Scorpios. Okay. Charis, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I don't really resonate with my Venus in Cancer. I don't feel confident in hospitality, hosting, beautifying the home. I feel it requires a lot of skills that I don't have. Also, people pleasing is real and being nurturing can also be draining. So, I would have to look at your chart a little bit more. Um, because you might have some other placements that kind of like are conflicting or kind of like overpower this placement. But another thing that you can consider is like with a Venus in Cancer, it is very intuitive. It kind of it's like very much so like an empath can sense how other people are feeling and what other people need. So maybe that can be helpful as well. And as a water sign, it is very creative, and has like a lot of emotions, can pick up on what other people are feeling. So any of my water signs, so Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces with if you have Venus in the Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, make sure to clear your energy, like walking outside, taking baths, meditating, because it's like a lot of other people's energy can stick onto you. That's helpful. All right, I have time for one more question. Hi, Jen. You're so welcome. Yes, I'm excited. I will text you. Any other questions? Pause the music. Okay, resonate with my Venus and Aries, but not always other people see me as a leader or a guide. What I project to others is not what I think I am. So Anna, I would also just say like because the North Node has been in Aries over the last year, there's been a lot of power struggle in organizations, in leadership teams, and everyone's just kind of figuring out like how they want to lead and where they are leading. Is there one dimension we should focus on when making a change? What do you mean by that, Kelly? In terms of like, what do you mean by like one dimension? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Oh, and making a change. It really depends. I would say the best thing right now in this season, because we're in Scorpio season, is to look at your moon sign. I think that focusing on understanding your moon sign, so whether your moon is in Sagittarius or moon in Leo, that's going to be really helpful in you understanding how emotions move through you, how you process emotions. As our intuition likes to kind of like communicate through the body and through emotions, and emotions really show up physically in our body as well. I think that would be a really great place for you to start. So, one last thing that I wanted to share is I am going to start my membership up again in 2025 in January. I'm going to be doing more of these types of workshops, but expanding and sharing a lot more. So, I will be emailing you probably in like December and January, like what that looks like. I'm still kind of like noodling on like how many workshops do I want to do? Do I want to do group readings? So, if you have something that you really are curious about, something that you would really like to learn about, some type of format, like do you like doing more of these where you're focusing on like a specific planet, maybe doing some like seasonal forecasts, let me know by emailing me or DM me on Instagram because I'm going to start this membership up again, and really diving in deep to some of these topics to really help you kind of like this month is going to be really good for like looking for a new job, improving your relationship with your coworkers. This is a good time to ask for a promotion. This is a good time to switch jobs. This is a good time to pay attention to all your communication because it's a Mercury retrograde. So really focusing on kind of like the forecast as well and kind of like navigating those transits and kind of like the astrological forecast. So let me know email me, DM me what you're interested in, like for a membership, and I'll follow up with a replay as well as a discount for the expanded report. I hope that everybody has a wonderful day. And as you enter the weekend, take time to take care of yourself, to rest, and to integrate all that we've covered today. It was just a little bit of information. And if you want more, feel free to book a reading with me. I'll include that in the follow up as well. We really can dive into other areas of magnetism as well, because it's not just Venus, it's other things as well. Just, can't always cover stuff in a workshop. All right, thank you everyone. Hope this was helpful. Good to see you digitally and some of you in person yesterday. And I will be back next month with another free workshop. So keep your eyes peeled on your inboxes. All right, bye.